A wooden toy plane. Not a missile, not a bomb, not some advanced military weapon developed by a team of engineers over years of research. A $50 wooden plane. The warship it destroyed cost $200 million. It had radar systems, it had defense networks, it had a trained crew of hundreds of the most prepared military personnel on the water. And it never saw the wooden plane coming. Not because the plane was fast, not because it was invisible to radar, because nobody, not a single person on that ship, thought a $50 piece of wood was worth worrying about. That assumption cost them everything. And what happened next exposed the single biggest weakness inside the most expensive military machine in human history. Here is the truth they tried to bury. Level 1. The most expensive feeling of safety. The United States Navy is the most powerful naval force ever assembled in human history. 11 aircraft carriers. Each one longer than the Empire State Building is tall. Each one carrying enough firepower to end a small war by itself. A single American carrier group, one ship surrounded by its support fleet, costs more than the entire military budget of most countries on Earth. And at the center of that power sits one belief: we cannot be touched. That belief wasn't arrogance for no reason. It was built on decades of technological investment. The radar systems on American warships can track objects the size of a baseball from miles away. The defense systems can fire faster than a human eye can blink. The ships are designed to survive everything, except one thing. And the people who found that one thing didn't work for the Pentagon. They didn't have billion-dollar research budgets. They didn't have satellites or stealth technology. They had $50 and an idea that everyone told them was stupid. But what was the idea? And why did the Navy, with all its technology, never see it coming? Level 2. The War Game. In the summer of 2002, the United States military ran the largest war game exercise in its history. It was called Millennium Challenge. The setup was simple: a fictional enemy force in a fictional Middle Eastern country. The US military playing the blue team, using real ships, real aircraft, real technology. A retired Marine general named Paul Van Riper playing the red team, the enemy. The Pentagon spent over $250 million setting up this exercise. The entire point was to prove that American military technology was unstoppable, to test their new systems, to confirm what everyone already believed: that no enemy force could survive a modern American naval assault. Paul Van Riper was supposed to lose. He knew that. But Paul Van Riper was not the kind of man who showed up to lose quietly. He was 64 years old, Vietnam veteran, decades of unconventional warfare experience. And he had spent years studying one very specific question: what does a powerful system assume it doesn't need to worry about? Because that, whatever that thing is always the real weakness. And he found it. But here's what nobody expected. His answer wasn't a new weapon. It wasn't a secret strategy from a classified file. It was something so simple that when he first described it to his team, some of them laughed. Level 3. The plan that looked like a joke. The blue team, the US Navy, was coming in with everything. Aircraft carriers, destroyers, submarines, radar arrays that could see for hundreds of miles, command and control systems that processed battlefield data in real time. Their entire strategy was built on one thing: information superiority. Know everything, see everything, respond faster than any enemy can move. So Paul Van Riper did something that no sophisticated military computer system was designed to handle. He went completely dark. No radio communications, no electronic signals, nothing his enemy could intercept or track. Instead, he used motorcycle couriers to carry messages between his units. He used light signals based on codes from World War I. Systems so old that the blue team's electronic warfare units didn't even have equipment to detect him anymore. And for his attack, he didn't use missiles. He didn't use submarines. He used small civilian boats, fishing vessels, pleasure crafts, boats that looked like nobody. Boats that radar systems were programmed to ignore because they looked completely harmless. And attached to those boats, and to small wooden propeller planes launched from the shore, were explosives. $50 boats, $50 planes, moving in swarms from every direction simultaneously. The blue team's defense systems were designed to handle sophisticated threats, incoming missiles from known coordinates, enemy warships with identifiable signatures. They were not designed to handle 40 simultaneous targets that looked like fishing boats and toy planes. Honestly, stop for 1 second and think about this. If you were the commander of that Navy fleet right now, you have the most advanced defense system ever built, and your radar is showing dozens of tiny, unidentified objects coming from every direction at once. What do? Do you fire on everything? Do you wait to confirm? Do you sound a full alarm? Because the decision you make in the next 30 seconds either saves your fleet or loses it completely. And the real commanders, with real training and real technology, froze. Level 4. The 16 ships. In the first 5 minutes of the simulated attack, Paul Van Riper's swarm of small boats and wooden planes sank 16 U.S. Navy ships, 1 aircraft carrier, 2 helicopter carriers, 10 cruisers, 3 destroyers. In a real battle, that would have meant the deaths of over 20,000 sailors. In 5 minutes, with fishing boats and wooden planes. The blue team, the most technologically advanced naval force ever assembled, had been completely destroyed by an enemy that spent almost nothing. The $50 wooden planes had done what billion-dollar missiles from real enemy nations had failed to do in decades of Cold War standoffs. And the reason was devastating in its simplicity. The Navy's entire defense system was built to handle threats it recognized. It had no protocol for a swarm of objects that didn't match any known weapon signature. The computers flagged them as low priority. The commanders hesitated because nothing in their training covered this exact situation. By the time anyone understood what was happening, it was already over. Here is where the story gets truly dark. When the results of Millennium Challenge came in, when the Pentagon saw that their $250 million exercise had ended in complete defeat within 5 minutes, they didn't accept the result. They restarted the game. And this time, they quietly changed the rules. Van Riper's red team was ordered to position their ships in specific places, ordered not to use certain tactics, ordered, essentially, to lose in a more acceptable way. Paul Van Riper was so disgusted that he resigned from the exercise mid-game. He went public afterward, told anyone who would listen what had actually happened, what the results actually showed, what the real weakness was. The Pentagon's response? They published the results of Millennium Challenge as a success story. And here is the question I want you to answer in the comments right now. Was Paul Van Riper the real winner? A man who proved with $50 technology that the most expensive military in history had a fatal blind spot? Or was the system right to reset? Because a real enemy would never actually be allowed to get that close. Because people are completely split on this. And which side you take says a lot about whether you trust power or truth more. The Navy rebuilt its fleet after Millennium Challenge, upgraded its systems, developed new protocols for swarm attacks. But here's what they never fully solved. The core problem Van Riper exposed wasn't technological. It was psychological. Powerful systems don't fail because of sophisticated enemies. They fail because they decide, somewhere deep in their design, that certain threats are beneath their attention.